Our speaker today is Ashley Weed. She is a PhD student in classical philology at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Her research interests include Latin and Greek prose fiction, gender and sexuality, and animal studies. She is also passionate about reception, equity, and accessibility in the field of classics. Ashley's presentation today, Acrimony, Tyler Perry's Other Medea, is based on her forthcoming chapter in the Routledge Companion to the Reception of Ancient Greek and Roman Gender and Sexuality. So thank you, Ashley.
There we go. Thank you, Dr. Day, for the kind introduction. I'd also like to thank the Ames officers for making this conference happen, as well as all of you for being here on a Saturday night during a busy time of year. Also, before I begin, I should give a content warning. There will be some blood, violence, and graphic language. Tyler Perry's 2018 film Acrimony tells the story of a woman named Melinda who seeks homicidal revenge against her ex-husband Robert and his new fiancée Diana. After Melinda gives everything to Robert over the course of their relationship, her virginity, her money, and her emotional support, they divorce. Robert eventually reappears at Melinda's doorstep, now incredibly wealthy and newly engaged, and seeks to make amends by means of financial and housing security. Melinda becomes enraged, chemically destroying Diana's wedding dress and attempting to murder both her ex-husband and his new fiancée. In this paper, I read Acrimony as a reception of Medea's episode at Corinth. Though Tyler Perry is perhaps best known for this Medea, who has very little to do with Greco-Roman myth and literature, I argue that Acrimony's protagonist Melinda recalls the ancient Medea, interacting with the long tradition of Black reception of Medea in America. First, a necessarily brief and incomplete summary of Medea's biography and some relevant interpretive issues is in order. Medea is many things. She is a princess of Colchis, a barbarian kingdom at the eastern limits of the Greek-known world, and granddaughter of the literal sun. She is also a powerful sorceress and priestess of the goddess Hecate. Though Medea enjoys a long and rich biographical tradition treated by many authors, both Greek and Roman, most relevant to my presentation today are her voyage with Jason, as told by Apollonius in his Argonautica, and her episode at Corinth, as told by both Euripides and Seneca in their tragic Medeas. Most of you are probably familiar with the general narrative. Jason, an errant prince, arrives in Colchis seeking the mythic golden fleece so that he may bring it back to his homeland Iolcus and reclaim the throne. Princess Medea, then a maiden, is struck by Eros' arrow and compelled by her new attraction to Jason to help him in his quest. Thanks to Medea's expert knowledge of witchcraft, Jason is able to escape with the golden fleece and Medea herself in tow. After many years surviving perilous situation after perilous situation at sea and eventually on land, most often due to intervention by Medea, Jason and Medea settle in Corinth. At some point, Jason becomes engaged to the local princess, which makes Medea quite upset. Feeling betrayed on many levels, Medea seeks revenge by murdering the royal family and the two sons she shares with Jason. Medea is one of the most fully developed and complex female figures in ancient Greco-Roman thought. She is everything women were not supposed to be: rhetorically sophisticated, agentic, emasculating, concerned with honor and social status, conniving, and as a woman who murders her own children, the ultimate anti-mother. Despite all this, however, Medea's portrayal in tragedy is not entirely unsympathetic. As a barbarian in a Greek land, Medea's precarious position is made especially clear by Euripides, for example. Moreover, audiences of both tragedies are constantly reminded of Jason's marital betrayal of Medea, to some extent legitimizing Medea's rage. Though this narrative has been interrogated for millennia by storytellers of all kinds, it has uniquely appealed to Black American artists of the 20th and 21st centuries. Medea is a woman on the edge of society and of a tense emotion, who defies expectations placed upon her by her gender and ethnicity, challenging long-standing socio-political systems that are built against her. Moreover, it should be noted that Medea can be read as a Black woman. Of course, any artist, when adapting a story, can intentionally race characters for specific effects. However, reading Medea as a Black woman is more than an authorial choice. It acknowledges a basic fact about Medea's intersectional identity that is often elided. Medea is Colchian, and Colchians aren't just barbarians, they are Black. Of the Colchians, Herodotus writes, "The Egyptians said that they believed the Colchians to be from Sesostris' army. I deduce this myself because they are Black in complexion and kinky-haired." Whether you believe Herodotus and the ancient Greeks had any conception of Blackness, For more on that, I direct you to an excellent paper by Egyptologist Tristan Samuels called Herodotus and the Black Body. Jackie Murray has made a compelling case for this passage's influence on W.E.B. Du Bois' vision of Pan-Africanism and consequently his take on Medea. Du Bois, who adapts Apollonius's Argonautica in his tragically underrated novel Quest of the Silver Fleece, fashions his Medea figure on these terms. Zora's name is Slavic for dawn, who is mother to Memnon, king of the Ethiopians, and her glowing, fiery eyes recall the flashing eyes that mark kinship with Helios and are emphasized by Apollonius, which I won't read for the sake of time. But here they are. Zora, who inherits from Medea intelligence, agency, and resilience, in addition to her blazing eyes, emphasizes all of her literary predecessors' positive attributes to embody a model for Black classical education of the early 20th century. Similarly, Shelley Haley has shown how, beyond sharing the trope of a filicidal mother, Setha of Toni Morrison's Beloved echoes Medea's morally ambiguous search for self-definition through motherhood, sexuality, and pride, her geographic and social marginality, and her resistance to patriarchy and categorization. Because this is a conference about Greco-Roman antiquity on screen, I won't linger much longer on literary reproductions of Medea. However, I would be remiss if I did not mention County Cullen's translation of Euripides' Medea, which reads the entire dramatis personae as Black, as well as Jesmyn Ward's 2011 novel Salvage the Bones, as part of this tradition of Black American Medeas. Melinda in Tyler Perry's Acrimony, however, is a much different Medea. We first meet Melinda in a courtroom. She has been served a restraining order and court-mandated therapy. "I will not allow you to continue to harass these people," says the judge. "What is obvious to this court," he continues, "is that you're in need of professional help and anger management counseling." Immediately following her hearing, the screen cuts to black and we see Melinda at said anger management counseling. Seated between two Greek key pillows, Medea is asked about her anger problem.
So, do you think you have an anger problem?
Motherfucker right, I got an anger problem.
Do you feel that you're entitled to this anger?
It's like asking me if I'm entitled to being hungry. He caused all of this. All of it. It's not me. That son of a bitch owes me.
What do you think he owes you?
Every damn breath in his body.
So.
Immediately following her hearing, of all Medea's most notable characteristics, Melinda immediately and most prominently embodies rage. She recalls tragic Medea's fixation on what she is owed, credits and debits, for all that she gave to her ex-husband. However, in 21st century America, a Black woman's anger means something different, as Melinda is keen to point out.
What are you writing?
Just my notes.
And what do your notes say? I'm a stereotype.
Is that what you think you are?
Hell no. Sick and tired of hearing that. Every time a Black woman gets mad, she's a stereotype. Or she emasculates men.
Is that what you think you did?
Bitch, are you not listening to me? I never did anything to him. I was everything he needed me to be. What are you writing?
The angry Black woman is just one of many stereotypes applied to Black women in America. Though there is no evidence that supports the existence of this stereotype in reality, Black women in the United States often suffer biased interactions based on this stereotype, in which aggressors disparage Black women for what they characterize as a tendency towards reactive, illogical, and unnecessarily intense anger, and then go on to place blame upon any Black women who challenge them in this regard. The myth of the angry Black woman has developed over time and appears frequently in popular music, film, and television. Related to this stereotype is that of the sapphire, which, quote, associates Black women with anger and aggression directed toward male partners, whom she emasculates, and children, and, quote, places Black women outside normative femininity. Unfortunately, it comes as no surprise that Perry would shape his Medea figure in this way. As the introduction to womanist and Black feminist responses to Tyler Perry's productions notes, Perry's, quote, representations of Black women and Black womanhood could be conceived of as curious at best, patriarchal, misogynistic, homophobic, and racist at worst. Specifically, Perry's productions reveal a dependency on pervasive and injurious Black female caricatures that are disconnected from Black women and girls' complex individual, social, cultural, economic, political, and historical realities. These realities reveal how Black women and girls are impacted by structural and individual acts of violence, which include racism, sexism, classism, and more. Erasure of these realities represents Black women and girls in non-humanizing ways. Though likely unintentional, the exploitation of Black woman stereotypes is consistent throughout Perry's body of work and continues with Melinda in Acrimony. Returning to the film, Melinda's therapist then asks her to explain this injustice to her from the beginning. And so Melinda recounts her story with her history with her ex-husband, Robert. Melinda first bumps into Robert one rainy day in college, and despite physically and verbally assaulting him for bumping into her, Robert shows up at her dorm room later that evening to return some papers and ends up helping a struggling Melinda with an important assignment. Shortly after, Melinda's mother dies, and after showing up at the funeral, the two retreat to Robert's trailer where he comforts her.
I'm sorry to hear about your mother. She sounded like a good lady.
Yeah. Yeah, she was amazing. You know, she...
It's okay. Come here. I'm sorry.
There was something about the way he said he was sorry that made me believe it. And the way he held me. I know this sounds so stupid, but you have to know, I was a kid. He made me feel safe and strong and...
You're beautiful.
Beautiful. My mother wasn't even cold in the ground yet, and there I was. What kind of man takes advantage of a girl's grief, huh? I'll tell you, a low-life maggot of a motherfucker, that's who. He had to know that grief can leave you open to not knowing yourself at all. Add that to me being so young. He had my mind, my heart, my head, and let's not forget, my virginity.
Here, Melinda evokes the charm Jason has on young Medea when he asks her for assistance in acquiring the Golden Fleece. Thus he spoke, honoring her, and she cast her eyes down and smiled with divine sweetness. Her heart melted within her as she was uplifted by his praise, and she raised her eyes and looked into his face. Yet she did not know what word to utter first, but was bursting to say everything all at once. Casting off all restraint, she took the drug from her fragrant sash, and he received it at once into his hands with joy. And then she would even have drawn out her whole soul from her breast and given it to him, exulting in his need for her. Such was the love flashing its sweet flame from Jason's golden head and captivating the bright sparkles of her eyes. And her mind within her warmed as she melted like the dew on roses that melts when warmed by the rays of the dawn. Moreover, Melinda's fixation on Robert taking her virginity echoes Seneca and Medea's quest to restore her rapta virginitas. Robert and Melinda then began a romantic relationship and plan a future together. Robert, an engineering student, is shopping around a battery patent and is hopeful it will prove lucrative. Robert says, "And we're going to have one of those." "What, a tugboat?" "No, a yacht, and I will name it the Mrs. Gale." Gale is his last name. "The Mrs. Gale?" "Yeah, I'm going to name it after you when we get married. You're going to be my wife forever." Forever. That's what he said. Those were his words. Forever. And I believed him. I trusted him. I was so in love with him. I didn't see the con man for the con. As it does, the honeymoon period did not last long. Melinda catches Robert cheating and, in a fit of rage, rams her car into the RV with Robert and his affair partner Diana inside. "There is something about my crazy," Melinda says. "It's blind. It's not rational. It rages. It doesn't stop. It doesn't subside. It doesn't quit. It's immediate." Robert somehow comes out of this incident physically intact. Melinda, on the other hand, is rushed to the hospital and undergoes an emergency hysterectomy. I slammed my body against the steering wheel so hard. Internal bleeding. And worse, ruptured ovaries. A full hysterectomy. And I wasn't even 21 years old. Children, never. Much to everyone's surprise, Melinda and Robert immediately reconcile. Soon after, Robert reveals that he has lost his scholarship, and Melinda agrees to fund the rest of his bachelor's degree. Robert proposes, with no ring, as Melinda points out, and thus they begin a life together in which Robert remains unemployed while Melinda financially supports him in his battery prototyping, even going as far as to mortgage the house she inherited from her late mother. This goes on for 18 years. One day, Robert runs into Diana, his old affair partner, who now works for the venture capitalist Robert has been trying to work with. She arranges a meeting for Robert to pitch his battery, but the meeting is canceled prematurely due to Robert's criminal record. Eventually, Robert is contacted by the venture capitalist and is offered $800,000 for the battery design, but he turns it down. This is the straw that breaks Melinda's back, and she finally leaves Robert. After the divorce, Melinda loses her home, and Robert briefly lives at a homeless shelter before being taken in by Diana. Finally, the venture capitalist offers Robert a better deal for the battery design, $75 million and retention of the intellectual property rights to the patent. Robert surprises Melinda at work with a check for $10 million and the deed to her mother's home, which she had lost. Following the address on the check, Melinda shows up at Robert's new high-rise apartment in an attempt to win him back. Robert, however, is now engaged to Diana and rejects Melinda's advances. This sends Melinda into yet another spiral. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, she says as she stalks Diana's social media. Melinda tries to sue the couple, arguing that because she supported Robert while he worked on the battery, she was entitled to restitution and half the value of the battery. The suit fails and results in a countersuit by Robert and Diana, as well as a restraining order. Melinda then retaliates by finding the boutique where Diana's wedding dress is being altered and ruins the dress with acid. We return to the initial courtroom scene where Melinda is sentenced to a court-ordered therapy. Meanwhile, Robert and Diana, newly pregnant, marry and go on a honeymoon cruise. Melinda somehow sneaks onto the boat, puts on Diana's second wedding dress, and this happens.
Although you're full of misery.
Bath is ready already.
Sit down.
Mel, what are you doing? What are you doing?
What are you doing, Robert?
Come on, Mel, you know this is not right.
No. What's not right is what you did to me.
What did I do?
Don't act like you don't remember.
Okay. Tell me so that I'm sure.
You left me. You took the best parts of my life. And you gave that bitch my ring. My apartment. My boat. My life. And you promised those things to me, didn't you, Robert? Didn't you?
I did.
So why? Why did you give it to her?
Mel, you divorced me. You left me.
You didn't fight. You didn't fight.
Mel.
No, you used me to work and take care of you until you made it. You never loved me.
Mel, that's not true. I loved you.
Then why? Why did you give it all to her? Huh? Why are you here with her?
I'm actually just going to cut it there because I think you get the gist of what's happening. She ends up shooting him, as one does, and then continues on a rampage. She forces the crew to jump off the boat. She ends up confronting Diana, and as that is happening, Robert sneaks up and pushes Melinda into the ocean. But it's not over there. Diana escapes on a dinghy, and Melinda returns. She grabs an axe and pursues Robert around the boat. Right as she's about to hack him to bits, the anchor slips, pulling Medea into the ocean where she drowns. Or Melinda, sorry. Diana and crew return to rescue Robert, and the film ends. Whereas most Black artists choose to emphasize positive character traits in their Medea figures, Perry has clearly departed from this tradition. Melinda is not especially intelligent or resilient. She does not resist patriarchy, restore her status in the community, or enjoy a happy ending. Rather, from the very beginning, Melinda is an angry Black woman typified. She unintentionally becomes an anti-mother by means of her emergency hysterectomy and never regains her sense of self or community. Belinda is set up to fail her Jason from the very beginning. Though this film has incredibly problematic messaging, I think it serves as an interesting foil to its literary predecessors, offering grounds for fruitful discussion of Black classical reception, especially in the context of this field's relationship with anti-Black racism. Thank you.